This Hashem, today's daf is Masechta Sanhedrin Daf Tzadik Aleph 91, and we're going to begin from 90 Amud Beis, Tzadik Amud Beis, by just after the wide lines. Okay, we're going to talk a little fast so we can cover as much as we can with these dafim. Okay, we're discussing the concept of Tchiyas HaMesim, resurrection. Shalu Aminin es Rabbi Gamliel. The Minim, the Christians, asked Rabbi Gamliel, how do you know it's true that HaKadosh Baruch Hu Machaya Mesim? HaKadosh Baruch Hu will resurrect the dead. Amalahem min HaTorah, min HaNeviim, min HaKsuvim. I find it from sources in the Torah, from the Neviim and Ksuvim. V'lai kiblu mimenu, and they didn't accept it from him, even though they somehow accepted the Torah, but they didn't accept his proof. Midat Torah, I'll prove it to you from the Torah. The pasuk says, "Vayayma Hashem Moshe." Hashem says to Moshe, "Hincha shaychi v'mamasecha." You're going to pass away. You're going to pass away. You're going to join your fathers. Come, and then you're going to get up. So it says that Moshe Rabbeinu is going to die and then get up. So there's a proof that you're going to have Tchiyas HaMesim. Amrulai. So they said to him, the Dilma, maybe V'kam ha'am v'zana. You have to read the V'kam as part of the end of the pasuk, which says that the Kam ha'am v'zana, that after Moshe Rabbeinu dies, God is predicting that the people will now become attached and start serving Avodah Zarah. So that's not a proof. Mina Naviyim. So Rabbi Gamliel says, I have a pasuk in Tanakh. The Ksiv, it says in the pasuk by Yecheskel, Yichyu Mesecha Nevelasi Yakumin, the dead will become alive, the corpses will stand up, Kitsu, Varananu, and they will sing Sheikhni offer those that were lying in the dust, Kital Oires Talecha, the Eretz Refaim Tapil, and the earth will cast out all the dead bodies. So that's a pasuk in Yecheskel, clearly indicating that there will be a Tchiyas HaMesim. Answers the Gemara, the Dilma, Mesim Shehechi Yecheskel. Maybe those are the dead that Yecheskel, there was a one-time thing that Yecheskel caused Tchiyas HaMesim, but that's not the Tchiyas HaMesim that's going to be in the future world. So that's not maybe it's just a one-time thing. Min Ksuvim, but then there's a pasuk in Ksuvim. The Ksiv, the pasuk says, V'chichech kiyayin toiv, hoylech l'dari l'mesharim, your throat will enjoy good wine. It'll go very smoothly to my beloved. Doivev sifsei yesheinim, which will cause the lips of those that are sleeping to move. So we see that eventually the lips that those that are sleeping in the ground are going to move again. So that's a pasuk in Shir Hashirim that sort of hints at the concept of Tchiyas HaMesim. So the Gemara says, no, maybe it just means that the lips are going to move, but not the people themselves are not going to come out of the ground. Now, why should a person's lips move while he's dead? If someone says over a halacha in his name, any person that they say over a halacha, dvar Torah in his name, Boilam is in this world, even though he left this world, he's in the grave. His lips will start moving in the kever as somebody on this world is quoting a dvar Torah that he said, he's going to be his lips are going to be moving in the kever. Shnema doiviv sifsi yeshenim. The lips of those that are sleeping are moving because they're talking about them in Olam Hazeh. Until Rabbi Gamliel said this following pasuk, which really is the pasuk that you say every night, and if you think about it, it's a good proof that Tchiyas HaMesim, because it says that God is going to bring you to the land. You're going to have long life. That God swore about this land to your fathers, that He's going to give it to them. Give it to you. It doesn't say Elohem to them. Well, the Avos passed away. So that you see, Tchiyas HaMesim is from the Torah. You see a concept, a hint about Tchiyas HaMesim. The Yesherman and others says, Min HaMikra Hazeh Amalhem. That you do is that cling to the God are all alive today. So mahayim kulchem kayamim, just like today you're all alive. Af la'olam haba kulchem kayamim. So also in the future world, you're all going to become alive again, even after you die. Again, it was so important to the Chazal to prove that Tchias HaMeisim was hinted at in the Torah, and so that you could mekayim all 613 mitzvahs. And you're a Jew, you're Yisrael, and you have to lend them money, and you have to give you tzedakah. But if you don't believe that Tchias HaMeisim is written in the Torah, even if you believe in Tchias HaMeisim, then you lose your Olam Haba. That was the statement of our Mishnah. So again, the Romans asked Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya, how do we know that God resurrects the dead and knows the future? Two questions. Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya says, for one pasuk I know both ideas. So one pasuk teaches you two ideas. First, the pasuk tells God's telling to Moshe, you're going to die, and then you're going to get up. And then God's saying that the Jews are going to do Avodah Zarah after you die. So wait a second. So Vidilma, maybe it teaches you one idea. It's just teaching the idea that the people are going to do Avodah Zarah. They're going to get up and do Avodah Zarah with rizos, with diligence. But it doesn't mean that Moshe Rabbeinu is going to get up. So you don't prove to me. So the Romans answer Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya, you only see from that pasuk that God knows the future. Malahus, Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya says, okay, that you should see from this pasuk that God always knows the future. How do you know God knows both? He does Mechayim Esim, and he also knows what's the future going to be. Shnema, the pasuk says, God says to Moshe, you're going to lie down with your fathers and die, and become, and you're going to get up. And also the people are going to do Avodah Zarah. Tanya, we learned in the Brayso, I proved the Sefer Torah that the Kuthians, the Samaritans had, was false. They used to say, "Ain't Tchias HaMeisim in the Torah." From our Torah, you cannot prove Tchias HaMeisim. Amarti lehem ziyaftem Torah aschem. You try to erase it from your Torah. Well, you didn't accomplish anything because sha'atem ain't Tchias HaMeisim in the Torah. You say there is no Tchias HaMeisim in the Torah, but you believe in our Torah, right? So you have the Torah, but you just don't have the Talmud, right? But then how do you read this pasuk? If someone, so to speak, curses Hashem, so to speak, so he should be cut away, and Abayne Ba, his Aveira, stays with him. What does it mean? He'll die young in this world. Abayne Ba, and his Aveira will stay with him. Lamus, when will that be? Lav Loilam Haba. In the Olam Haba, he was going to have that Aveira. So we see that there's a concept of Tchias HaMeisim, and after we die. Amalei Papa Labaya. So Papa Labaya asked, why didn't he prove it from just the double language of Ikaris Tikaris? Tikaris is one world, Tikaris from the next world. Because answers the Gemara, that reason why Rabbi Eliezer bar Rabbi Yossi did not want to say that to the Kutians, because Inu Have Amrile, they would have answered that Tikaris Tikaris, the fact that the pasuk uses double language, the Torah speaks the way like language. Sometimes we repeat ourselves, but you don't take it, you don't have to midrashan every word. The truth is, Ketanoi, the Gemara says it's a machlekes tanoim. Ikaris ba'ilam azet, Ikaris le'im ba, divrei Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva exactly learns that the Megadef will lost his chelik in Olam Haba, because Hikares means he lost his chelik in this world, he'll die young. Tikares, he'll be cut off in Olam Haba. Divrei Rabbi Akiva. Amilai Reb Shmuel, like remember, there's another pasuk that says, as Hashem hu Megadef, he sort of blessed God, so to speak, v'nichusa, and he's going to get cut off. So now you have 3 times it says Hikares Tikares v'nichusa. V'chishloishi yamim yesh. Are there elamim yesh? Are there 3 types of worlds? Ela v'nichusa ba'olam hazeh. Hikares l'olam haba. Hikares Tikares divrei kloshaim b'nei adam. So you don't use the second Tikaris, because that's the way normal people speak. So you have another pasuk v'nichusa. Either way, Bein Rabbi Shmuel, Bein Rabbi Kiva, but it also says Adboina Ba. His sin will be with him. My Avdele, what does that teach you? It doesn't teach you about Olam Haba because that you learn from Benichraso or Tikares. And says the Gemara, look at the Tanya, we learned in the Brisa, Yachal Afila Asa Tshuva, even if someone who is Megadef Hashem lost his Chelek Haba, even if he did Tshuva, his sin stays with him. Only when his sin is with him, then you lose your Olam Haba. But you still have an opportunity to do Tshuva and get your Olam Haba back. Sha'ala Cleopatra Malchus Rabbi Meir. It's hard to understand who this is. The Cleopatra queen asked Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir lived in the 200s, I think, right? Amro, Yadana the Chayesh Chivi. I know that the live could die. The Ksiv, the Yatzitzi, the Chayesh Chivi. The ones that died are going to come alive. The Ksiv, Meir, Yatzitzi Meir Ke'esav Aretz. You're going to come forth from the city like grass. In other words, she believed in Chiyas Mesa. So she agreed with him. She had a question. Are people going to get up naked without clothing, or are they going to be wearing clothing? He told her, have a kalvachayma from a piece of wheat. When you plant wheat, you plant this just the seeds, right? Without any covering. Yoitza, but when it grows, bekam levushin, it has many coverings covering the kernel. Tzadikim, tznikbaram belevusheim, tzadikim that are buried somewhat with their clothing, they have a kittel, alachas kama, when they come out, Chiyas Mason, they'll be wearing nicer clothing. Amalei Kesel Rabbi Gamliel, the Caesar said to Rabbi Gamliel, Amrisi deshchive chaya. You say that those that died are going to come alive. But he doesn't understand something. How could life, and this is a very important question, spontaneous generation, how is it possible for life to come from something that's not life? Hahava afra, every dead body turns into dirt. Afra mikachaya, does dirt come alive? That was his question, a very good question. Amalei brate, so the daughter of the Caesar said, we go to Tzadik Aleph Amar Aleph, Shvake, leave him alone, Vanoma hadarna le. I'm going to answer it on his behalf. In other words, we don't even need him to answer him. There are two potters in our city. One could create a pot from water. And one needs dirt. It needs clay to make a pot. Who's the better potterer? Who's doing more of an amazing thing? Amalei, so the Caesar answered his daughter, the one that creates a pot from water. Amalei, so she said, Minamayim saw minatit, like Kal Shkem, God, who creates a human being from a little tiny drop of semen, certainly can create a human being from a piece of clay, from a dirt. So you shouldn't have a question, how is life going to come from a piece of dirt? God makes life come from a spoiled piece of water, soiled piece of nothing, a drop, a putrid drop. The Bei Rabbi Shmuel Tana, the Bei Rabbi Shmuel had a different version of what she answered. It's a kal v'chomer from how you make glass. The way you blow into something, you blow into the way the glass makers, they have a certain pipe that they blow into to create the glass. A glass keli vessel can be made with just the air of a human being. Nishbaru, if they broke, yesh lahem takanu, you could fix them to remold them again and make them into a keli. A bas of Adam, that even Shebarucha Shalakaj Baruch, that's created with the wind of God, so to speak, if it dies, Alachas Kama, God could be able to repair it and make it come back. Amaleahu Minil Rab Ami, Amrisa Dishchavi Chaya, Vahava Afra. Again, the same question keeps coming up. Spontaneous. You're telling me that people who are dead are going to come alive. But how's that possible? People turned into dirt, and dirt is inanimate. And we already proven scientifically that there is no spontaneous generation. Life must come from other life. Does dirt turn into life? Amalei, so the Rabbi of Ami answered this min emshel. I'm going to give you a parable. Lama Davidaima. The Melech Basar Adam Shamal Avadav Tzluchu Vinili Paltering Gedolim Bimkom Shein Mayim Va'Afer. He told his servants, "Build me a palace in a place where there is no water and dirt." And they brought water and dirt from other places. Halchu Banu Oisei. They built him a nice palace. Bilam Yomim Naflu. Then it fell down. It collapsed. Amalehem. So he said, "Chizru binu oisa b'makom sheyesh afamayim." I want you to now build me a place where you'll have the building material right there of offer dirt and water to create a palace. Amulai. So the workers told the king, "We can't." Cause Salem. So the king got angry at his workers. When there was a place that you had no dirt or water, let's say in the desert, Benisan, you were able to build me a palace. Akshav, now I'm in a place sheyesh mayim offer that there is water and dirt. Alachas kama v'kama, you certainly can build me a palace. So therefore, God, he could always, even though from dirt, God could turn it into life. If you don't believe this concept, say lebika, you'll go out to the valley. He told them in urei achbar, you'll see this certain type of rodent. Shahayim, if you look at it now, chetzi basar, half of it is made of flesh, the chetzi adam, and half of it is made of dirt. Lamacha hishritz, the next day it's hishritz, it's going to teen, venasa kula basar, and the whole entire body will turn into flesh. So you see, God can take something that's inanimate, like dirt, and turn it into life form. And that happens even in the natural world. Are you going to tell me that it takes a long time, it could take millions of years for life to come back? And that could be. I mean, you're going to tell me that Chiyas HaMesim will take millions of years to happen. So Rabbi Ami said, Alei Lahar, go to the mountain. Today you'll see there's only one type of creature, chilazim. Tomorrow the rain will come, and there'll be chilazins all over the place. Chilazim was this type of creature where they made the tchelis from. So so you see that time is not holding back God. God can make tchias mason in 5 minutes. This min told this Gevia ben Pesisa. Gevia ben Pesisa was a smart man who was a hunchback, but he had wisdom, and he was a Jewish guy. And this min Christian told him, "Vay lechayin kayavim." Oh, woe to you, you evil people! The Amrisin, you say Mason Chayim, the dead are going to come alive. The Chayim Mason, people who are alive are going to dead. The Mason Chayim, the people who are dead are going to become alive. It's a false statement. That's what the min told Gevia ben Pesisa. Amalei, so he said, "Vay lechayin kayava." You are the Rasha. The Amrisin Mason Leichayin, you say the dead are not coming alive. The Loihava, people who are not alive, Chaye become alive, right? Every human was not here, and now he became alive. The Havechai, those that were living, like Koshkein, certainly they'll come back alive. Amalei, so this min told Gevia ben Pesisa, Chayavik Karis Lei, you call me an evil person. Ikamine, if I get up for Tchias Mesim, Beitna Bach, I'm going to kick you. When we get up to Tchias Mesim, I'm going to straighten your hunchback. He was like kidding around and saying, okay, if I get up to Tchias Mesim, I'll make sure to kick you so hard that you'll stand up straight. Amalei, so this Gevia ben Pesisa says, Im ata oisikein, if you're going to do that, Roifi Umi Tikari, you're going to be called the expert doctor at that time. V'socha harba titu, you'll be able to take a lot of reward. Okay. Tana Rabbanan, the rabbis taught. Now we brought this Gevia ben Pesisa. We're going to tell you a couple of other stories about it. Be'esrim ba'aboa b'Nisan, the 24th day of Nisan, isnatile dimnusayim Yehudim Yerushalayim. The people who were trying to rob Yehuda and Yerushalayim were removed. In other words, is a story of probably in Megillas Taanis, which talks about different Yom Tovim, celebrating interesting things that happen. Now, what happened? When the people from Africa came to debate the Jewish people, in front of Alexander the Great, the Greek king, Amr Loi, they said, Eretz Canaan Shalanahu, Israel belongs to us. That's what the Africans said. The Ksiv, Eretz Canaan Livulosel, Uchnan, Aviyadahani Inishe. We come from Canaan, and in Noach's time it was given, Canaan belongs to the land of Canaan, belongs to us, not the Jews. So the Gviya ben Pesisa said to the Chachamim, Tunu li rishus ve'elech va'oden imahem. Give me permission and let me debate him lifnei Alexander Smoitim, in front of Alexander the Great. I'm going to take on these African people. Im Yinatzchuni, if they win the debate, Imru, then you could say, oh, Hedrit Shaboni Nitzachtem. We sent you Gviya ben Pesisa. He's just a plain commoner amongst us. He's not the person with the fullest of wisdom. If I'm going to win the debate, then you'll be able to say to them, Torah Moshe won you over. So Nasler Rishis, they gave Gviya ben Pesisa the permission to represent the Jewish people in a debate in front of Alexander the Great, with the Bnei African people saying they come from Canaan and the land of Israel belongs to them, because that's what it says in the Chumash. Halach v'daniman. So he had the debate with them. So he asked them, where are you proving that Eretz Yisrael belongs to you? They said to them, Min Torah. The Torah says Eretz Yisrael belongs to the Africans. So Gviya ben Pesisa said, I could prove it from the Torah too. Canaan was cursed to be a slave in the story by Noach. So Canaan was conserved to be a slave. If an Eved acquires possessions, who does his possessions belong to? It belongs to his master. And not only that, the many years passed that you didn't serve me, you didn't serve us, and it says that Canaan is going to be serving to the Bnei Shem. That's what Noah said, that you're cursed. So if you believe in the Torah, you were anyway destined to be in slavery. Alexander Malka Hachzir le'tshuva. So the Alexander the king said to the Africans, answer Gviya ben Pesisa. Amru Loi, so they said to him, give us 3 days and we'll come up with an answer. So the Alexander gave them time, but they couldn't find an answer. Miyad barchu, so they ran away. These Africans who were in Israel probably ran away. They realized that the king is on the side of the Jews, that the Eretz Yisrael belongs to the Jewish people. And they left over their field, which were planted, their vineyards, and the Jewish people needed this, like when the Arabs ran away in the War of Independence, the Jews took it over. Well, the same way the Africans ran away and they left over planted fields, and the Jews needed it at that time. It was a Shemitah year where the Jews didn't plant in their own fields, and now they had a boon because of the empty fields left over by the people from Africa. It should happen to the Gaza people. Shuv Palmachas, another story happened. Bo b'nei Mitzrayim, the Egyptians came, Lodim in Yisrael lifnei Alexander Shmoitam. They came before Alexander Shmoitam to have a debate. Amru Loi, so they said to him, we loaned you when you left Egypt, we lent you all this gold and silver. Give us back, we want it back, all the silver and gold that you took from us. Alexanders. Im Yinatzchunu im Lehem had Yebon Nitzachtem. Vim Einani Nitzach Oisam im Lehem Torish Moshe Ben Nitzachtem. Nosan Loi Rishus Valach Vidon Iman. So the Gviya ben Pesisa asked the permission from the Sanhedrin or whatever it was, from the great leaders. He wants to represent the Jewish people in this debate against the Egyptians who are requesting money back from what we took from them when we left Mitzrayim. And he said there's nothing to lose, because if they win the debate, you could always say that, oh, we sent you Gviya ben Pesisa, who is a commoner. And if I win the debate, you could always say that the Torah won the debate. Amalem, so Gviya ben Pesisa begun the debate and says, prove me prove us that we took your gold and silver. Amr Loisa says, Torah. If you read the Torah, it says the Jews took out gold and silver from the Egyptians and they borrowed it. So he said to them, I'm going to also prove it from the Torah. We were enslaved for 430 years. We didn't get paid for the slavery. Where's the reparations for all the slavery that we did for you for 430 years? He told the Egyptians, now you have to answer it. So they said to him, Tshuva, they didn't find an answer. So those Egyptians that were presumably living in Israel realized their game is up. So they're saying, and that was a year of Shemitah. They also ran away from Israel and left it to the Jewish people. The Bnei Yishmael, the Arabs, or the Bnei Keturah, came to other sons of Avram Avinu, came to judge Fnei Alexander Moikim. Amar Loi, they said to him, Eretz Canaan Shalom Shalachem. It's both of ours. We're both the Ksiv. Ela told us Yishmael ben Avram. Ksiv, Ela told Yitzchak ben Avram. Avram had two boys, Yitzchak and Yishmael, and he also had Keturah's kids. So Eretz Yisrael really should not be a Jewish place. It should be shared amongst the Bnei Yishmael and Bnei Keturah. Alexander Moikdam. Imru had Yabonush Nitzachtim, Imanini Atzei Chaisim, Lem Taris Masher Rabbeinu Nitzchaschem. Again, this Gvia ben Pasisa represented the Jewish people. He said to the Bnei Yishmael, where do you bring a proof? The Torah says that Avraham Avinu had a son Yishmael, and if Avraham Avinu is supposed to get Eretz Canaan, so it belongs to us as well. So let's look in the Torah. Avraham as kol asher Yitzchak v'levnei hapilakshim asher la'Avram nasan Avrim matanos. So you see that in his lifetime, Avram divided it up. He gave everything that he owned to Yitzchak, and to the other children he gave gifts. A father who wrote his will to his kids in his lifetime, then he made everything sholem at that point, sent everybody away from each other. Do they have any claims against each other? So you got yours. So God, Avraham Avinu gave you something special. He gave you gifts. My matanis. What kind of gifts did he give to the Bnei Keturah, Bnei Yishmael? He gave them the name Tumah, so to speak, that they could perform black magic. Those certain powers he gave to them. Now the Gemara goes to we'll stop in 5 minutes, and that's it. The Gemara continues into a fascinating discussion between Rabbeinu HaKadosh and Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor that wrote the father of Stoicism and wrote the book Meditations, very famous. So Omer Lehem Antoninus Rebbe. He always had this Antoninus, this Roman emperor. Marcus Anthony had a question to Rabbeinu HaKadosh. Guf and neshama yachol lifters atzman and din. A soul and a body could say they're exempt from punishment. Ketzad guf aymer neshama chatasa shebiyim shepersim imen hareini mutal ke'ever doma and kekever. The body can say the soul sinned because as soon as the soul left me, the body is in the ground like a dead stone. And neshama emeris, the soul says. Guf chata, the body did the sin. Shemiyom sheparashti mimenu, from the day that I left the body, hareini pareiches be'aver b'katzipa. The soul flies around the world like a bird with no rest. So it's the body that did it, and the body says the soul did the avera. Amalei, so Rebbe said, Emshalachal mashal, I'll give you a parable. Lama adam adaiva, lemelech basav adam, shoyle pardes na. This king had this gorgeous orchard. In this orchard, we go to Amid Beis, Bakuris noise, he had these unripened figs. And he put two watchmen over this orchard. Echet chiber, one was lame, the echet suma, one was blind. So the lame person said to the blind person, I see such beautiful figs in this orchard, and there's no way for me to get it because I have no feet. Put me onto your shoulders. Will bring them to eat. So the lame person got on top of the blind person, and he guided him. And they brought the figs. And ate up all the figs. So there was the owner of the orchard came and said, where are my beautiful figs? So the blind person said, do I have any eyes to see? So what did the owner of the orchard do? He put the lame person on top of the blind person, and he judged them. He figured it out that the lame and the blind person got together to steal his figs. Maybe neshama v'zarka baguf, the Kadosh Baruch Hu will bring the soul and throw it back into the body. The don oisin ke'echan, and will judge them both at one time. Shenema yikral shemai me'al vel aretz lodin amay. Yikral shemai me'al zu neshama. God's going to call from heaven. That's the neshama. Vel aretz lodin amay, and He's going to call back the body for the judgment. So the final judgment will be with the body connected with the soul. And that's how God is gonna. So no one could say, "I didn't do the sin." Amalei Antoninus l'Rebbe. Antoninus said to Rebbe, "Why does the sun come out in the east and set in the west?" Amalei. So he said, "What do you mean? Would you say the same thing if it rose in the west and set in the east? Why are you asking such a question?" Amalei. So Marcus said, this is what I mean to ask you. Why does it set in the west? Why doesn't it go just halfway and then come back? Amalei. So Rebbe said, the sun goes all the way to the west to, so to speak, bow to Kadosh Baruch Hu, which the presence of the Kadosh Baruch Hu is more felt in the west. So the sun rises in the east and goes the full orbit to the west to bow to God. Amalei, so the Marcus said to Rebbe, let it just go halfway and then go backwards the second part of the day. In other words, if it's just bowing, it's not nice to go straight up to the king's face and bow to him. You have to bow from a distance. So let it go to the middle of the sky and then come back to the east where it rose from. Answers the Gemara, Mishum Payalem Umishum Avredachem. Because if workers and people who are going on the road, travelers, they need the sun to go to the west, because if it just goes back to the direction that it came, then people will not figure out that the day is almost over. So it was a way to tell time if you see the sun rise in the east and set in the west. So that's why God created it that way. Rebbe. And Antoninus said to Rebbe, another minute and a half. Antoninus said to Rebbe, when does God put a soul into a human being? Mishas Pekida, from the time of conception, or Mashas Yitzira, from the time the body is formed in the mother's stomach. So is a time from conception, or from the time that it's an embryo. That's when the soul. Amalei, so Rebbe said Mishas Yitzira, it must be from the time that we're a body. Amalei, so Antonina says, I argue with Rebbe. You have a meat that stays 3 days without salt. Would it not spoil? In other words, from the time that the egg fertilizes until the body is formed is a chunk of time. What's holding the body? What's holding that together if the soul is not there? Amalei, Mishas Pekida. Ella Mashas Makida. And Rebbe said, you're right. From the time of conception, that's when the soul enters the body. Amar Rabbi, Davazel Danim Antoninus. From this, I learned this from Antoninus. Umikra Messiah, and the Pasuk proves it. Shnema Ufukudoska Shamarucha. As soon as the conception happens between man and wife, then the Spirit of God enters the soul, enters the person. Not from when it becomes an embryo, but actually from the conception. And finally, V'amalei Antoninus Rebbe. Antoninus said to Rebbe, and you see that Rebbe is learning things from the Roman emperor. When does a person have an evil inclination? Mishas Yitzira, from the time that he's created, or in the mother's stomach, or mishas yitzira, from the time that he leaves the mother's stomach. Amalei, so Rebbe said mishas yitzira. I think already in your mother's stomach, you already have a Yetzer Hara. Amalei, so Antonina said, in Cain, if a person has a Yetzer Hara in his mother's stomach, bayit b'me'ima, he would kick his mother's stomach open, v'yotzen, and leave. Ella must be mishas yitzira. The Yetzer Hara enters a person as soon as you enter the world. You take your first breath on this world, that's when you get the Yetzer Hara. That's what Antoninus told Rebbe. Rebbe, you're right. Davazel imdani Antoninus, and this Antoninus taught me. Umikra Messiah, and the pasuk seems to agree with Marcus Aurelius. Shnema lepesach chatos roivet. As soon as the door of the womb opens and you come into this world, that's when the chatos roivet crouches right there. Is the Yetzer Hara to enter you? So this ends that sugya with Antoninus and Rebbe, and we'll continue on with this discussion of Chiyas HaMesim.
Excellent.